In this video, we'll cover how to bring data from your Garmin eTrex into your computer and then into ArcGIS Pro. The first thing to do is to plug your Garmin eTrex into your computer. There's a little rubber flap on the back of it on the top, and just pull that open or flip that up and plug in the USB cable there. A USB cable should have come with it, and then plug it into your computer. You'll also need to turn it on, and when you turn it on, it's going to take a second, and then it'll display a screen asking if you want to use your GPS as a hard disk. Go ahead and use the scroll control to pick yes, and then again it may take a minute, but you should see Garmin eTrex appearing here as I have it on my computer as an external hard disk. Go ahead and double click and you'll see the folder Garmin, and then you should see GPX. Now, with other GIS software, you can take these GPX files, and these are actually the files that contain your coordinates that you took while you were out in the field. However, Arc doesn't support GPX directly yet. So what we need to do is we need to go and get a product called DNR GPS. This is the most commonly used GPS software that I've seen. There's also Easy GPS, which I've had some students use. I still use this one regularly. It's very easy to get and download. It's provided by the Department of Natural Resources out of Minnesota, I believe. And they've been providing it for a long time, which is great. And they do that for free. Now, one confusion factor is you will see that it's here for ArcMap and different versions of ArcMap. It used to be a plugin for ArcMap. Those are hard to maintain because Ezra keeps changing the interface, so we don't really do those a lot anymore. But you don't have to worry about that. In fact, any of these versions will work because we're not going to plug it into Arc directly. We're going to go ahead and just use it as an application. In fact, if you go ahead and download it, here it's downloaded into Chrome. Okay, it won't take too long. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring it to my desktop. And you can unzip it. And now I've got a folder, and inside of there, another folder, and dnrgps.exe. exe is an executable file, so that's the actual program for DNR-GPS. And we don't have to run an install or anything, we just double click on it, and it runs, and there it is. And that little pop-up screen said it used to be DNR Garmin, now it's DNR-GPS. Okay, now I've run this before on my computer. It's already picked up that I've got an eTrex out there. Okay, you can say connect to default GPS, or you can say find GPS. It may not come up the first time with your eTrex, but you can do find, and then it's going to go off and search for your GPS. And in fact, it supports a broad range of different GPSs from Garmin with different ways of connecting them. It should work, hopefully. We used to have a lot of problems with serial connection. USB works much better. If you have a serial GPS, an older one, you may have to change the baud rate until you get one that works. Then you can just go download all. Now there's those GPX files for us. They're done by each day that you go out. So in this case I did 2 different surveys, but I remember they're both on August 18th. So it makes it easy for me to pick the file that I want to download, and then it downloads, and there's the data. And notice we've got latitude and longitude with 6 digits after the decimal, so we're in good shape. Okay, and there's also a bunch of other information, most of which we're not going to use or look at. We can just go ahead and say File, Save to, File, and we're going to save it to a shapefile. And I've already set up my folder on my desktop for GSP 510, Lab 3, Originals, and this is my August 18th file, and I'm going to label it as that. Okay, and then save it as a shapefile. And the reason I did that is because I've got multiple survey data sets in here. I'm also going to go ahead and launch ArcMap. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and close DNR GPS. And I launched ArcMap because it's going to take a while to load, so I tend to just leave it open or leave it running. In this case, I wanted to open it, and what I want to do now is, because I'm going to put a little bit of work into my maps, I'm going to go ahead and create a new map, but I'm going to create my project inside my working folder. In other words, This will put this into your documents folder on the computer, and it's going to make it hard to find. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and put this in, whoops, wrong lab folder. Oh, come on, desktop. Thank you. No, that folder really isn't empty. Okay, there we go, better. 510, okay, and lab 3, and I'm just going to save it to root because I'm going to put originals and other data in there. And this is my annex project. Whoops, sorry. That's how most programs would work. You type in a name here, but instead we need to back out, pick lab 3, then say OK. Then I can go ahead and name it annex project. Okay, now I'm going to have my project with my data all together in that one folder. It's going to create a new map, and now we can either go ahead and add data from here, or you could do a drag and drop. I kind of bounce back and forth depending on what I'm doing. And there's my waypoints. Okay, now you can see that myself and one of my graduate students, Holly, we went out and we did both the annex and the forest GPS work on the same day. And now I'm coming back and I need to break these up because I've got two data sets, right? Here's the annex one over here and here's the forest one. And I need to separate those into two data sets. So what we can do is here in the map panel, I can go to select, draw a box. Now that's going to select all the points that are at the annex. And all I have to do is right click on the layer, data, export features. Now by default, export features will only export the selected data. It's ArcGIS Pro, so we wait. And there it is. Okay, now it's going to default to the input features, which is correct, but the output location is always going to be a geodatabase. In this case, lab 3, and I don't like putting things in a geodatabase unless I really want to do that. There is a reason for them we'll talk about later. I like shapefiles because I can see my file, I can work with it, and I want to create a working folder. And now I'm going to put my annex data into my working folder. Oh, there we go again. You know, I do that a lot. Need to put the folder name there and the file name here. And I make mistakes on this because somewhere places in Arc it uses a folder, somewhere it uses a file, and then most other applications are looking for the file. Okay, so that's all we really need to do. Don't need to worry about the rest of this. Okay, and it should run really quickly. And then we'll see that we have our annex data separate from our forest data. Okay. Yep, looks good. Now it's selected, but you can go ahead and clear the selection. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my original data set, select it, right click, data, export features, go back to my working folder, and this will be my forest data.shape. So now I've broken those up into two separate shape files. I don't need this one anymore, so I can remove it. And now I can go and start working on my annex data.